The Monster Guys Podcast begins now.
Welcome to the Monster Guys Podcast. I'm D.C Michael, and as always, I'm here with my partner and co-conspirator in all things creative, C. Michael McGannon. How you doing, Michael?
I'm awake. Salty chips. They're good.
Yeah, we're sitting here munching on some purple corn chips. They're pretty tasty. So tasty that Michael's got his mouth full and can't speak.
I'm still licking my lips.
They are tasty. So just having a good time here on the Monster Guys Podcast. We have had a really strong month in the month of February.
It's been a very fun month, and to one of our favorite topics. I think it's done a lot of justice to, or I hope a lot of justice to Yokai. I hope you guys out there are getting a kick out of it and going up and researching your own stuff.
Yeah, yokai is a favorite topic of ours. Japanese culture, we do a lot of panels at conventions and just like to chat about it. And there's so many interesting yokai and so much about Japanese culture that is just fascinating and, for me, mystical and even mesmerizing. So I love to be immersed in that. And so we've spent an entire month talking about yokai and Japanese culture, and we've had a very good month with our podcast.
We have, and we've barely even hit the top of the iceberg for yokai.
Oh my gosh, there's so many, and the list goes on and on. We started the month with a conversation with Matthew Meyer, who is a yokai illustrator and author, has spent quite a bit of time in Japan, and is one of our favorite artists. We've kind of loosely partnered with him over the past several years in trying to share about yokai and educate about yokai, and he's been gracious enough to share his art with us in that process. I was thrilled. I was a fanboy, and I think you were too. Just sitting through that conversation, just thrilled to be able to sit down and chat with him, and his insights and information were stunning. And it was a great way to start the month.
It was a lot of fun for us too. It was great to get to hear another, fellow folklorist spill the beans on one of his specialized topics.
Yeah, absolutely. And then later in the month, we had another opportunity, which was a surprise gem for us. In the midst of the month, as we were rolling, we met up online with Zach Davison, who is another yokai author. He's a writer at Image Comics for the Wayward series, contributor there. His book, Yurei, the Japanese Ghost, is a great addition to anybody looking to broaden their yokai library or their Japanese culture library. We went pretty deep in conversation with Zach, from Yurei to Japanese culture to various other yokai, and his insights into historical aspects of these creatures and the culture that they are so prominently displayed throughout.
Oh yeah, super nice guy too, and super knowledgeable. I was surprised. I did not know him as well. I'd only spoken to him, I think, once briefly in the process of meeting up with him, but a huge surprise as far as the interview went. Really great episode. I think it's one of my favorite episodes that we've done so far.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. He's very energetic, so it was jam-packed with great content. We had one other guest that we announced for the month, but due to technical reasons on her part, we were unable to complete that interview. We're still working on that, waiting on some things from her, so I think we're going to revisit that in a future Yokai Podcast episode from a storyteller's standpoint. We'll see how that plays out. We had some other great content. You and I covered some biggies, the Tengu and the Oni in one episode. We covered, of course, with Zach Davison, we covered the Yurei with Matthew Meyer as a part of our conversation with him. We went pretty deep into Tsuku Mogami. Mm-hmm. Then you and I also had an entire episode devoted to the Kitsune, which is your favorite baby.
My absolute favorite, yes.
So we've had a jam-packed month in terms of content. Plus, this month we launched our Yokai Podcast. Those episodes are shorter episodes, and if you'll notice this month on your listings for our podcast, about every other episode, we've had a yokai episode. And what they are is short stories that we have written about yokai, and then we have a short discussion. They're about 12 to 15 minutes long and have become very popular very fast. just for our listeners' knowledge, that podcast will continue. The Yokai Podcast, the weekly stories, do not end at the end of the month of February. Even though in March we go into a brand new topic, which we might talk about later on, the Yokai Podcast will continue. And what's going to happen with that is we are going to segment that out of the main Monster Guys podcast. It will become a separate podcast all to its own. So people who are interested in yokai, and specifically yokai, can find the Yokai Podcast separate from the Monster Guys podcast, but we'll still be doing those weekly. So I'm kind of excited about that. It'll give them those stories a platform of their own. It'll be much more focused on storytelling versus conversation and interviews and insights about monsters from around the world. And anybody who's just interested in yokai versus all the other monsters we talk about and likes the storytelling format, you can get both of them or you can choose. We would like you to choose both of them, but that's just our opinion.
Well, we have a bit of a biased opinion there. So.
Maybe. I'm not biased about that at all. But it's been a great month, and we're not finished yet. Even though February is a short month, we have an extra Monday in February. And what we've tried to do as the Monster Guys podcast is, and we haven't always been successful, sometimes we've been just a few hours late or a day late, but we're trying to get on a schedule where we release our podcasts on Monday. So February has an extra Monday. So, as an added bonus, you get an extra podcast.
Which we definitely need to cover some of the more bizarre creatures today.
And that's what we're going to do today. Our podcast today is going to be a little bit of rapid fire. It's going to be fun, and I'll share a little bit more about the rules of today's podcast in just a moment. But before we jump into the rapid fire rounds of our Yokai Mashup, I do want to announce that we're doing a contest. We are going to give away a copy of Wayward Book 1 Deluxe Edition from Image Comics. And by the way, we're doing this on our own. This is totally unaffiliated with Image Comics or any of the writers or anybody else. We're doing this as an added value. Now, here's how this works. Leave us a review on iTunes. We'd love for it to be a beautiful review, but we appreciate your honesty as well. Leave us a review on iTunes and or like us on Facebook, The Monster Guys, and or follow us on Twitter, The Monster Guys. Interact with us somehow through iTunes or on social media somewhere, and be sure to go to the contact page at themonsterguys.com and just drop us a note, or if you're on Facebook or Twitter, just drop us a note and say, hey, I left a review over here, that was me, or this is me just interacting, or share one or all of our podcasts around with your friends or whatever. That's all we ask of you, is somehow interact with us over the course of the next week. Should we do it 2 weeks or just give a week?
I'd say a week.
Okay, we'll do a week. So at the end of next week, like next Friday, we'll cut it off and we'll go gather all the interactions. And what we'll do is throw all the names into a random generator, and then we'll make announcements across the podcast and all of our networks. What we'll need is somehow a way to send that book to you, but we want to send a hard copy version of Wayward Book 1 Deluxe Edition from Image Comics. Again, this has nothing to do with them. They're not paying us. They're not giving us that. This is just us trying to add a little bit of value at the end of our month, focusing on yokai to our listeners, and kind of as a thank you to say, hey, thanks for hanging out with us. I don't know, maybe we'll throw in an extra, our little picture of the Monster Guys as chibi, because that would be fun. We look kind of funny and silly as chibi, but maybe we'll autograph that and send that along with the book. So there you go, folks, a copy of Wayward Book 1 Deluxe Edition from Image Comics, and probably the most valuable thing in the world, a signed copy of our chibi, the Monster Guys photo. We'll just have some fun with that. So interact with us somehow, iTunes or Twitter, Facebook, show us some love, let us know who you are, and we'll announce that later and then try to get up with you and find out how you want us to send that to you. Before we get into that rapid fire round, thanks for hanging out with us. We really, really appreciate all of our listeners and people hanging out with us here on the Monster Guys podcast, and thank you for helping us to make this month such a great success, and we're looking forward to some pretty spectacular things in the months ahead. So thanks for hanging out with us and being a part of that.
Yeah, this was, again, one of our favorite topics is yokai, so I personally am super excited that we had such a great, strong month. From what we've seen online, it looks like you guys enjoyed it too, and I hope that you did. I hope that everybody got a kick out of Japanese culture and folklore this month.
Absolutely. Okay, here we go. Here's the deal today. We are going to go into our rapid fire yokai mashup rounds. And what this means is I'm going to shoot you some yokai names and you're going to shoot back to me some information about those yokai. But we're not going to spend like an entire podcast on each one of these. You got 2 minutes or less to share with us about each one of these yokai. Now, at the end of us going through that list, we're also going to do a little bit of a yokai battle. I don't know if that's actually really happens in the real world, but
it'd be fitting.
We're going to do that, but maybe it's just in honor of Pokemon's 20th birthday right now. Happy birthday, Pokemon.
Is it 20th or 30th?
20th, I think. Yeah, I think pretty much. Yeah. Happy birthday, Pokemon. We're not trying to slight you, but we're going to do some yokai battles. After our rapid rounds, we're just going to pull a few yokai out of the hat, and you and I are going to have a little argument about which yokai would win if they faced off with one another. And I think I'm going to win because I know more about these subjects than you do.
We'll see which yokai we draw.
Yeah, I don't really know more about them than you do. I'm just joking. I just wanted to sound good. But anyway, rapid fire rounds. Here we go. Round 1.
Yokai mashup, begin.
And round 1, Hajime. Oh, wait, that's for the battle later on.
That's for the battle.
Sorry. Round 1 is the Tanuki. So, Michael, you have 2 minutes or less. Tell me about the Tanuki.
All right. First off, a lot of people think that the Tanuki is a raccoon. In fact, it is a raccoon dog. This is a real animal in Japan, and similar to the kitsune or the Japanese fox, people believed that the raccoon dog was powerful, was spiritually imbued with magical prowess and sorcery and all sorts of stuff. They could shapeshift. They could shapeshift other objects. They could also turn into other yokai to frighten people. Usually, they were seen as evil or mischievous. Today, they are seen as cute and cuddly for some reason. But they were known for doing all sorts of tricks, all the way from tricking people into buying things from them, giving them money that later turned into dirt and leaves, even going so far as killing one elderly man and serving him up in the stew. So there's a huge range of craziness that they get into. Probably what they are known for most.
1 minute left.
Oh dear. The thing that they're known most for is their giant magical testicles, which can shapeshift into all sorts of stuff. This is not something that is...
You just said magical testicles.
Yes, this is not something that's sexual in nature or pervert. Yeah, it's perverted. It's not like overtly sexual though. It's just that they use their testicles as umbrellas, as sumo stadiums, as houses. I mean, you name it, they used it for that purpose, like beating rice stacks or rice patties. It was kind of crazy, but that's what they were known for, or are known for most today.
15 seconds left with
your
the Edo magical shape-shifting testicles.
Before the Edo period, they were known for drumming on their bellies and making all sorts of racket and sounds either to scare or trick humans. And I believe that's time.
And that's time. All right. You guys can hear the timer going off there. Okay, round 2 is the Shiramei. And go.
This should be really easy to cover in 2 minutes. The Shiramei is probably the strangest yokai that I know of. This guy is a humanoid.
That says a lot.
That does say a lot. This is a humanoid that is just like walking around. There's only one folkloric story about the Shiramei, and it's about a samurai who is walking along the beach one night and sees another guy about to pass him. From a distance, he says hello in a friendly greeting. The Shiramei, or the other person, did not answer. But as the samurai drew closer, he realized that the person didn't really have a face. He said hello again because it was dark outside, maybe he was seeing things, but the Shiramei responded by stripping his clothing, turning around, and mooning the samurai.
Oh dear.
Now, here's where it gets weird, if it hasn't been weird already. The Shiramei is an eyeball butt. So when he mooned the samurai, there was a giant eyeball between the butt cheeks.
That's awesome.
And the samurai was so terrified that he ran away screaming from the eyeball butt. And that's it. That's really all there is to this yokai. There's no special like magical sorcery powers. It's an eyeball butt. That's the Shiramei.
You have some time left, so I just want to say that we've started off really strong with shape-shifting magical testicles and an eyeball butt.
Oh, it gets better.
For the yokai in this rapid-fire yokai mashup round.
Just wait till we get to the kappa.
Okay, here we go. Round 3, the Kama Itachi.
A Kama Itachi roughly translates to scythe weasel. Itachi is a weasel.
That's a cool name.
They're even cooler because they're basically weasels with kama for hands. Kama are short little scythe-like tools that people would use to cut rice and other vegetables on the farm. So they've got these little, like Grim Reaper scythes for their arms and legs. legs. Now, originally, Kamatachi were known as a phenomenon. Basically, when you were walking alone on a lonely mountain road, just like so many yokai,
And there we go again.
these guys would attack you. And they would do so by being like a giant whirling wind. They would knock you down, and you would get up again, kind of lost, afraid, and really cut up around the knees and elbows, kind of battered and bruised. You would think you'd be worse off because of the scythe for hands, but there's a story to that. So originally, it was an invisible wind. Later on, it was kind of, one weasel calling the shots. But in time, the story changed. It was actually 3 brother weasels. The first one would knock you down, the second one would cut you up, and the third one would apply a magical medicine that would kind of heal some of your wounds so you're just scratched and not severely injured.
Brutal, yet helpful.
Strangely enough, yes. And don't really know the point of it other than just, the yokai's main goal usually is to terrify humans.
So is that it on the Kamatachi?
Yeah.
Okay.
A lot of these yokai, remember, are some, like the Kitsune, are really in-depth, and some are just weird, like the eyeball butt. That's it.
That is very strange. Very interesting yokai there. Okay, let's go to number 4. You're doing good on time, Michael. You're good at this. Rapid round fire yokai mashup.
I like yokai. What can I say?
I know. All right, number 4, the Inugami.
All right, the Inugami is a dog spirit. I would rank him a little lower than things like the Kitsune and the Tanuki.
But still very powerful.
Extremely powerful. He is known to turn on his owner. So, and this is the thing, he has an owner. Most yokai are creatures that are natural, right?
Right.
They occur on their own, they live to 100 years or something.
If
and
you can call an
become
eyeball
powerful.
butt natural.
Well, you know what I mean. They occur on their own.
Or magical shape-shifting testicles.
An Inugami is... I've got 2 minutes. Okay. An Inugami is a creature that is... Okay, it's a dog. And you take the dog out, you bury it up to the neck, and you let it starve to death, usually leaving food just outside of its reach.
That's mean.
And then you cut off its head after it dies from starvation. Very mean, yes.
That's really mean.
But what happens is that it creates this powerful, angry dog spirit called the Inugami. The Inugami becomes the familiar of an entire family. And it will do little things from running errands to big things like cursing other people and performing magic. However, if you don't take care of your Inugami and treat it good from then on, then it will turn on you and it will attack you, which you don't want. Another weird tidbit about these guys is that they are known for, like, the people who know about an Inugami family kind of shun that family. These Inugami people are very powerful because of their spirit, but they're shunned by the society for the magic that's associated with the Inugami.
Very good. Powerful. You don't want to piss that one off.
Heck no.
Okay, here we go. Round 5. We're doing good. Round 5, the Yukionna. I like this one.
The Yukionna is a classic, pretty familiar character. She is the snow woman. During great blizzards or snowstorms, the Yukionna will appear, lost, or seemingly lost and alone. She is known for doing several different things, but mostly, I guess, the popular idea is that she is a lover. She will seduce men, either for better or worse. The nice side of the story is that she will seduce them and eventually marry those men and live out a long and happy life until the man realizes that she's a yokai, and things go south from there. The other side of the story would be that she immediately freezes people who reach out to her, or that she eats their liver. And that's
she
the
eats
Yukionna.
their liver.
Sometimes, yes. Yeah, there are quite
and you
a few.
wonder why the guy doesn't want to stay married to her.
There are quite a few yokai that are known for favoring the human liver as a meal.
Okay, very interesting. The Yukionna. Number 6, and I say this, the Yamauba, and I think we've said that, but in Matthew Meyer's conversation with us a few weeks ago, he would call it the Yamaba.
Yes.
And so I think he's probably right.
He's probably right.
I'm going to defer to the guy who knows the language and is a yokai expert.
Well, a lot of U's, like the letter U in Japan is a little, almost silent at times. It's
Right.
there, but you can barely hear it.
So some of us may know it as the Yamauba or the Yamaba. Either way, Matthew Meyer's right. So we're just going to leave that at that. But what about this yokai?
Okay, so she is a mountain witch. She lives alone in the mountain passes and caves and caverns and a little cabin in the woods, I guess. She is also sometimes considered a kijo, or that female type of oni or
Right.
demon that we talked about in one of our earlier podcasts.
Mm-hmm.
She can be created a couple different ways, but I think the common idea is that she was left out to die on her own, an old woman that was sickly and infirmed and the family couldn't care for her, so they took her out to the forest and left her. Or she just lived out there and went kind of crazy. But she appears as a kindly, old, frail woman at first, and she'll lead you through the mountain pass if you're alone, or she'll give you shelter in her home so that you have a safe place to stay. Now, the very first story that I heard about the mountain witch, we're just going to call her the mountain witch now, is that she would lead you through mountain passes, and then when you turned around to thank her when you were safe, she would open her forehead to reveal a giant forehead mouth and swallow you up.
Nice.
Yeah, so that's my image of Yama-uba in my head. There are others that are disfigured in other ways, very menacing and powerful women with horns and tusks and extra fingers or other disfigurements that will just eat you and rip you to shreds. And of course, like all mountain witches, she is privy to some powerful magic and sorcery. And that's the basics on her.
Very good. Okay, on to number 7. I hope I pronounced this one correctly. Nurarihan.
Nurarihan, yes, or Han, depending on who you ask, but yes.
Okay.
All right, this is a very special figure in the yokai world. He is pretty simple in what he does to humans. He appears as an old man with a very odd-shaped head that oftentimes has like blue veins and other things sticking out of it, or just underneath the skin, but it's very odd, sometimes gourd-shaped. But he'll slip into a house, and he'll sit down with the family at dinner, and he'll eat the best food, he'll drink the best tea, he'll smoke their best pipe stuff, and act like...
Their best pipe stuff?
Yeah.
Smoke the best pipes. Smoke the best tobacco.
Yeah, that stuff. But he'll act like he's the master of the house, and people will serve him without realizing what they're doing. The thing about him, he's very, he's almost Lovecraftian, I guess, now that I think about it, because when he's gone, people don't realize he was ever there to begin with. I think his name alludes to this, something about being a slippery fellow, where he just kind of comes in and leaves, and nobody knows the better for it. The reason he's so special in Japanese folklore is because he's actually considered to be the general of all yokai. And there's not a lot detailing that. It's just understood that he is kind of their leader.
He's the man.
He is the man, yes.
He is the man with the pipe, the man with the best tobacco.
The man with the oddly strange shaped head.
Leads the yokai.
Yes.
Very cool. Okay, let's, you're doing good on time, Michael. You're pretty good at this. Did I mention that? You're really good at this.
Should we go down to 1 minute? Don't do that. We need 2 minutes for this next one, I think.
Especially for this next one. Number 8, the kappa.
The kappa is a river monster.
And one of people's favorite yokai.
Yes, a very popular one. Actually, if you look at Super Mario Brothers, the little turtle dudes, the Koopa, are named after him, and Bowser's kind of inspired by a kappa. But this is said to be a reptilian humanoid with a turtle shell and claws. And he also has this little dip in the top of his head that is almost like a bowl that holds water. And it is said that he has to keep water in this bowl when he's on land to survive. So if he spills water, he's in danger of dying. Now, the kappa is a fan of many things. He's a fan of crude humor. He likes sumo wrestling. He likes cucumbers. He likes to eat people and drown people, and he also likes the shirikodama, which is possibly one of the most bizarre facets of Japanese folklore that I've ever come across, and I'm still wrapping my head around it to this day, even knowing about it and trying to research it for years. The shirikodama roughly translates to the soul ball in the anus, and is a little ball around the size of a pearl, I guess, that is somewhere in the butt of a human being. Now, this is a mythological thing. It's not actually a thing, but people...
Yep, we continue the strangeness, ladies and gentlemen.
People would find drowned persons in Japan, and they would believe that a kappa had drowned them, or sucked this pearl out first and then killed them. And they believed a couple different things. They believed that it was a wishing stone. They believed that it was a delicacy to the kappa, or they believed that the kappa simply were trying to get to the liver and had to get through the soul ball first. So it's very strange, but they would...
Oh, Michael, that's time.
I wasn't even there yet.
You're okay. Well, you've only got a little bit left on the kappa. Go ahead and finish it up.
Yeah, I was just gonna say ways to get away from a kappa. They like sumo wrestling, so if you challenge them to a match, they'll have to bow to you out of respect, and then they'll spill their water, and they will be afraid of dying and leave you. The other way is to fart at them because they like crude humor and it makes them laugh, and then you can get away.
So just fart at the kappa. Okay, let's move on. You're doing good on time on most of those, so no points taken away from you for going a little bit over on the kappa.
Okay.
I didn't know that we're actually keeping points, but if we were, you didn't lose any right there.
So is it points don't matter and
Something like that. Okay, number 9, the Kage Onna.
All right, this is literally the Shadow Woman.
This is a spooky one.
Yes, it's very ghost story appropriate. In Japan, they have rice paper walls.
Right.
So their rooms are partitioned sometimes by these walls that are literally made out of rice paper. So you can see, the candlelight and everything from the other room. Well, this would sometimes cast silhouettes. The Kage Onna is literally just a shadow on one of those walls. She appears as an attractive woman at first, typically. But when you freak out because you see a stranger in your home, you go to that room, she's gone. Sometimes that silhouette will transform before your eyes or appear first as this form. But she could appear as that attractive young woman, or she could appear as an old hag with a large bell tied around her neck. Very spooky. The Kage Onna is pretty harmless for yokai, but she is an omen of your house being haunted by other monsters and yokai. So if you have her there, you might need to look around your house and make sure you're okay.
Yeah, or a foretelling, not just that your house might be haunted, but that it could be haunted in the near future.
Yes.
Okay, you made up for some more time there. Very good. Number 10, the Nekomata and the Bake Neko.
All right, let's start with the Bake Neko because that's simple. The Bake Neko is a giant cat, the size of an elephant or the size of a house. And
Seems like the Bake Neko have taken over Facebook these days.
Yeah,
Cats
yeah.
everywhere,
yokai in the digital world, that's how they'll get us.
I guess.
But yeah, that's it pretty much. It runs around eating people and is a giant spooky cat.
Wow.
The Nekomata is a bit more complex. This is a cat that lives to be 100 years old. Could be domestic, could be wild. Once it reaches its 100th year, like a kitsune, it grows a second tail or its tail splits into two. Now this is where it goes all just maniacal evil. It is then known for doing things like creating fireballs and tossing them around, creating illusions, necromancy. It is also known for being vampiric, drinking people's blood, eating them, or more specifically, just eating them outright and then wearing their skin as a disguise and taking over their position in life.
Yummy.
Yeah, so I'm sorry, cat lovers. Just be careful and make sure your cats don't grow to be 100.
Okay, is that all that you want to talk about for the Nekomata?
Yeah, I mean, they shapeshift into humans, kind of like foxes and raccoon dogs, and they speak human, but they mostly accomplish this by wearing the skin of a human, so.
Terrifying. Okay, number 11, Bake Kujira.
Yes,
I love this one.
This is the ghost whale. It's pretty simple. It's an apparition that you see. It is a giant floating skeleton of a whale, which is pretty spooky all to itself. Sometimes it's depicted as being covered by flames.
Which would lend to even more spookiness.
Yes, and sometimes it has a whole procession of other apparitions with it, other birds and fish monsters, I guess, that fly around with it, kind of like a wild hunt in the sea.
Very cool.
This guy doesn't really do anything but float around. However, again, this is an omen yokai that brings with it misfortune in the form of disease or illness or fires, which, were pretty dangerous in Japan because of the way their houses were constructed, or other such unfortunate events. Also, fun fact, I don't think this was inspired by the Kujira, but Godzilla's name comes from the words for, I think it's gorilla and whale. So I think there is maybe a little bit of inspiration from this guy, but maybe not.
Yeah, and that's actually one that we reference in some of our game show panels. At conventions when we do yokai game shows.
Yes.
Which is a lot of fun. So the next one is another strange one, but a cool one. The Dodomeki.
Yes. The Dodomeki and the Hyakume are two eyeball yokai. And let's go with the Dodomeki first, because again, kind of like the Bake Neko, she's pretty simple. She is a woman wearing a hood and cloak who is known for having eyeballs all over her arms. Now, she was thought to be a pickpocket in life, and that's why she was so alert and aware, but she was killed at some point and later became kind of a good lookout against thieves and other miscreants in death. But she's known for, being able to see so much because of her arms.
Just to add to that, I believe her name, translation of her name, somehow relates to long arms, which in Japan, in Japanese society, a thief was believed to have long arms. It was spoken of, and I believe the translation of her name somehow alludes to that.
Yeah, like other yokai, her name was kind of a pun because Dodo, and then Meki being eye, or alluding to eyes, it was kind of she had lots of little bird eyes, and the Dodo part, it was kind of a pun about having bird eyes. You also have the Hyakume, which is related to the Dodo Meki because he has eyes all over his body. He's this giant walking flabby creature, sometimes described as like a walking piece of flesh with claws and 100 eyes on his body. He haunts graveyards, and he doesn't hurt anybody. He scares them away from graveyards if they try to rob graves or do anything terrible in a graveyard. He's pretty cool because his eyeballs can detach and be stuck to trees or stuck to people or fly around. So I like to think of him as like an old-fashioned mythological security guard and security system all in one.
Yeah, that's very cool. And we actually made a mask of him a few years back for one of our yokai panels. Maybe I can find that, take a picture of it, and post that on our Instagram or something.
Yeah, I was pretty happy with that mask.
Yeah, it was cool. So, we had like 2 seconds left before the buzzer went on that one. Good job. Here's the next one, the Naraku Bay.
The Naraku Bay is a wall. It's literally just an invisible wall.
Invisible walls.
Yes, kind of like the eyeball butt. He's pretty simple and weird. This is a wall that you run smack face into in the middle of the night. If you're walking or trying to get somewhere by yourself, you might just run into an invisible wall of force.
Which is awesome. I think if I was in Japan, I might want to just kind of stake out a couple nights in a row just to see if anybody walks into the wall.
Well, he's a pestering annoyance, and that's really it. Now, if you try to walk around this wall, let's say you go to the left and try to walk around it, he will extend himself to the left. If you go to the right, he'll extend himself to the right. If you try to go up and over him,
to the left, little to the right.
No matter how high you can go, if you say go get a ladder or climb up the building to get over the top of him, he will extend upward as well. He extends infinitely in any direction that you try to go, and that's all he does. He's just kind of a pest.
What a pain in the eyeball butt.
Oh gosh,
that's all I gotta say.
Yeah, but later on, that's all he did. There was no way to get around him. Later on, as stories evolved and progressed, they said if you tapped a stick near the base of the wall that he would disappear. So there's a way to get around him, at least nowadays.
Ladies and gentlemen, we bring you more value. We share with you how to get around the wall. Okay, reset my timer here. Okay, the next one. Oh, this is one of our storytelling favorites. We tell live stories about this one. The No Perabo.
Yep, a classic again. This yokai is actually one of the monsters that the Tanuki will shapeshift into, or a badger could shapeshift into. Sometimes in old stories, the translation is actually mixed up with the word badger because those badgers would kind of pull this off sometimes as well. But the No Perabo is a faceless ghost. Now, it appears with a face at first, but it has a very particular method of psychologically scarring you by coming up and talking to you. Usually, it shows up as a female haunting graveyards or holy places or temple gardens. But basically, she'll tell you, this is holy ground or this is a sacred place, leave. And if you say no, then she will reach up and wipe her face off so that her face or her head is as smooth as an egg.
That's comforting.
It's terrifying. Now, she continues this psychological scarring by following you in a way. So if you go up, run to somebody that you know after this incident has taken place and start to tell them about this, it turns out that they are the No Perabo because they'll say, oh, they wiped their face off like this, and then they'll wipe their face off as well.
They'll wipe their face off.
And it goes on because as you go to the next person, that'll happen again and again and again. Really traumatizing. Yokai.
That's awesome. So basically, you go mad.
Yes.
Trying to get away from the No Perabo.
I think that's really all most yokai are trying to do is drive you crazy.
I think so. The No Perabo will continue to show up in other people, wiping their faces clean.
I would hate to be pinned between the invisible wall and then the No Perabo.
And a No Perabo. I wonder if they work in cohort together.
Well, sometimes yokai were known to work together.
Yeah, I wonder if those two, just to play a nasty trick. Okay, well, Michael, that's 14, and you did that one under time. 10 seconds left on that one. That's a pretty good yokai mashup.
Oh, rapid fire.
Everybody take a breath and out. Very nice. Okay, just wanted to bring you some extra yokai at the end of this month. Some really cool and fascinating, scary, spooky, all mixed up into one, and some whimsical and funny ones as well. Some on land, some in the ocean. Basically, anywhere you go, you can find yokai.
Yes, and in the mountains.
And in the mountains,
always
of course.
In the mountains, on lonely
and
roads at night.
And always on a lonely path at night. I wonder how many are actually on the lonely path at night. That would be a fun number to come up with.
Maybe that's why. Maybe they're just lonely and need somebody to hang out with. And they just don't know how to hang out or talk to people.
Yeah, I don't know. Well, that was a good rapid fire round Yokai Mashup. Added a bunch to our month-long discussion on Yokai. Now what we're going to do is we're going to have a little Yokai Battle. You've got some names in a hat over here. We're going to draw them out one at a time. Then I'm going to win by telling you how my yokai can beat your yokai. How do you like that?
We'll see.
Okay, let's see. I'm reaching into the hat here and pulling out a yokai. Oh wait, you've got them numbered. Okay, so we're going with the number that. Okay, I get it.
Yeah, I didn't want to write No Perabo and Naraku.
Okay, so
all of the other
I chose number 3, the Kama Itachi,
and I got Pikachu.
What? It's not in the hat.
No, I got Inugami.
Inugami versus the Kama Itachi. Well, you go first.
All right, how does this work? Do we have 2 minutes? Or are we...
No, just tell me. How do you think the Inugami is going to take out the Kama Itachi?
Well, the Inugami is a dog spirit. And being a dog, and a spirit, he can perform magic and all that crazy stuff. But mainly, he's still a dog with a great sense of smell, I'm sure, and an affinity for hunting down rodents. So I see the Inugami as chasing down the Kama Itachi and just, wringing their necks one by one.
Okay, well...
And he's also really hungry. Remember, he died hungry.
Yeah, but here's the thing. That dog can hunt, but he can only catch one at a time. I got 3. I got 3 brothers, the Kama Itachi. I've got 3 scythe weasels going at it.
Quality versus quantity.
And here's the thing. Here's the catch. Pun. Here's the catch on this one. I got 2 weasels. They're going to rip your dog to shreds, okay? But then I got one that's going to put him back together, give him a bone, and send him home.
Oh, okay.
So not only do we win, but we take care of our enemy and send him home. How about that? So here's the thing. I think I won. What do you think?
I think I still win. I mean,
okay, well, I don't know. It may be up for grabs. We may leave it to the listeners. Listeners, if you have an opinion between the Kama Itachi and the Inugami based on our, just absolutely stunning arguments that we've presented here, you let us know. Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, whatever. You can let us know who do you think won that round. Okay, let's go for the next round. What is I feel like I'm playing Jeopardy. Reaching into the hat, and this time I get number 14, which, if I'm not mistaken, is the No Perabo. Yes.
Alex, I'll take Naraku for 700.
Well, this time I'll go first. Okay, so the No Perabo, here's the thing. I'm just going to keep coming at you for eternity. No matter what you do to try to get away from me, I am always going to be in your face without a face. How do you like that one? The No Perabo is so incredibly powerful. I'm going to trick you into my little magical scheme. Then I'm going to erase my face. I'm going to scare the crap out of you. And you're going to run into the wall behind you because I am working with the wall.
Can you? That's cheating. You can't bring in 2 yokai, can you?
Well, you didn't tell me I couldn't in the beginning.
Okay. Is that it?
That's
all?
That's it. I've got it.
All you got?
I don't need anything else.
All right.
Go for it.
Well, here we go. The Naraku. Again. Okay, 3 points. 3 points to point out here.
Okay.
3 bullet points.
Uh-huh.
You got it. You get it.
You're
Anyways,
struggling here. You're struggling to beat my No Perabo right now. You're stalling.
Let's start off with the...
Hajime, fight.
He is able to kind of warp people's minds where they serve him. Like, he goes into the house and people are like, okay, I'm going to, give you my best tea and serve you as the master of the house. So there's the first thing. I don't think the No Perabo would be able to get past that alone. Number 2, even if she was able to remember who he was, and if she was able to wipe her face off and try to follow him with all of the loved ones and idea and all of that stuff, the Naraku doesn't really stick in people's memory. They forget about him, and he slips right out the door. So I don't think she'd be able to stick with him and keep on coming back. Finally, let's not forget one important piece of information here.
What's that?
This guy is the general of all yokai.
How did I know that was going to come to this?
So even if the first 2, if his first 2 characteristics were unable to dissuade the No Perabo, he could just say, stop it.
All right, well, just because you hold a medal on your chest doesn't mean that you influence. I'm just going to say.
Is there a
And tea,
Yokai
Michael?
uprising?
Offering tea to somebody that doesn't have a mouth?
Yokai general.
Yeah, the Yokai general. Your argument is invalid. I win. Listeners, what do you think? All right, next round. Do we have one more round, or is that it?
Final round.
Final round. Okay, I'm going to pull out this one. Let's see what I've got here. Oh, Suki. I've got number 1, the Tanuki.
Oh dear.
I'm rocking already.
Well,
I'm 2 for 2 so far, in my opinion.
I have the Yamauba.
Oh, you don't even say it right, so you automatically lost points. I'm going to tell Matthew Meyer that you don't know how to speak Japanese, Mr. Yokai. All right, you have to go. You have to go first this time. I went first last time.
All right, round fight.
Hajime.
All right, the Yamauba or Yamaba. Anyways, the Mountain Witch, female Oni Kijo, will appear to the Tanuki, who is known for having killed that one poor old man and serving him up as a bowl of soup. She will appear to him, and she may seem kind and fragile and a weak old woman. As the Tanuki plays his tricks on her, he will then realize that he has made a mistake, because she will transform into a giant or slightly larger than usual old woman with horns and tusks and teeth. She'll grow a mouth on her forehead and gobble him up. And that's that. I mean, how do you beat that? You can beat the old woman in the mountain pass.
Listen, I understand you got the old woman in the mountain pass. She's a Kijo. She might get a little bit bigger. Got a mouth in her head that's going to try to devour me. But let me just say one thing.
Oh, gosh.
Shape-shifting magical testicles. And you can't devour all that. And you are pounded into dust. Ladies and gentlemen, I think I just took that one on one stand. Michael is rubbing his brow right now in pain because of the beating that he just took. What say you to that, Michael?
Forehead, mouth. Okay, all right.
You can't fit it all in. You can't fit it all in the forehead.
It doesn't have to. There is a story of a Tanuki that got burned by pipe ash.
What?
Yeah, he turned his testicles into a house. A person came in, was smoking. They dumped the ash out and burned his testicles. The house shrunk, and he ran away.
What are you talking about? You didn't bring that up. That's not part. That's not. You're cheating. You're like kind of reverse engineering my whole argument here.
All it would take is a simple little tromp.
All I got to say is magical shape-shifting testicles. And you know what? Our friends in Oklahoma City, Cliff and Kellen, you remember those guys?
Yes,
Logan, Jerry? They would agree with me, and they would back me up on that.
Kellen, Logan, guys.
Our honorary Monster Guy friends in Oklahoma City, you guys, I just want you to throw me some love.
Giant and magical or not, it still gets hurt. It still hurts getting bit down there, doesn't it?
I just took, and Michael's reaching in to get some more chips. He's hungry. He got beat down. He needs some recovery here. All right, well, ladies and gentlemen, you're like chewing into the microphone right there. You are really struggling, aren't you? All right, so there you go. 3 rounds of Yokai Battle. I don't know. What do you think, ladies and gentlemen? It's a close call there. I think at the end there, I took it. You were trying to recover, but it wasn't working.
Well, you guys out there, you decide and you let us know. We'll see who wins.
Yeah, we'll see. Good times all around. We've had a great month. It was fun to do some rapid fire here at the end. A few rounds of a Yokai Battle. Again, remember the contest. We're going to keep that up for a week and just feed back to us on one of our outlets there, Facebook or Twitter. Please leave us some love on iTunes. Subscribe there, share it around, and then let us know, either through our contact page or on one of those places. Leave us a note and let us know. We love to hear from you, and we certainly appreciate you spending some time with us. Michael, you got anything else to end this month? We go into a whole new topic next month, which is just going to be very scary, in my opinion, and really awesome to jump into the topic of fairies. We are going into the world of the Fae.
Now, if you want to look at us weird when we say scary, I will remind you that Tinkerbell is a pixie and not a fairy.
That's right.
And that the first thing I think of when I think of a fairy, well, no, I shouldn't say the first thing, but one of the first things I think about is the headless horseman who wields a bone whip.
The Dullahan.
Yes.
Yep.
And
he's actually one of my
people.
Favorite monsters, bar none, around the world. I love the Dullahan.
So we just covered an entire month of the wacky and bizarre and brutal, and now we're going to go into the magical and graceful and just downright menacing.
Yeah. So we're going to spend a month on the Fae folk, on the fairy world, and we're really excited about that. We love that. Our first podcast podcast ever was about fairies. Poor sound recording notwithstanding, we had a good time with that. And to date, it's actually still our most popular podcast. And I think it was because of the content. Again, thank you, listeners, for hanging out with us as we get better at what we're doing with our sound and finding our voice and all that kind of stuff. But fairies, we talk about them a lot, and they're going to have a lot of fun with them in March.
Yeah, we'll see you guys next time.
Thank you. Good night.